Hi, I'm Ben,
And I'm Lucas.
and we are two aspiring filmmakers making unnecessary commentary on famous movies.
Each week, we will randomly select a film to analyze, discuss, and review.
We will select the film at the end of each podcast, so you will have ample time to watch the movie before the next episode.
We are slightly qualified film students.
Hello, everybody.
Welcome
Welcome to
back.
another episode of Slightly Qualified Film Students. This week, we're taking a look at Fincher debut, I'll say. Technically not his directorial debut, but if you want to look at it from a fan's perspective, this is basically the first Fincher movie. And at least from what I've seen, I haven't seen all of his filmography, but I know Lucas has seen a lot of it. To me, it's his best so far that I've seen.
Yeah, if we ignore Alien 3, which Fincher has said himself he doesn't count as one of his films.
Mm-hmm.
Se7en would be his first film where he got to do it all himself without any major production company deals and stuff.
Yeah.
And it's quite different from Alien 3.
Yeah,
Se7en
just a little bit.
It's just a little bit. I mean, Se7en is the stepping off point for Fincher. And it's a phenomenal film. It's a phenomenal psychological thriller, crime, murder mystery film. All the good stuff. Probably my favorite genre of films to just watch. I love a good crime thriller. I will watch a crime thriller any day of the week, anytime, as long as it's good. I was trying to find a new crime thriller to watch the other day, and I was looking at all the top 50 lists, and I swear I couldn't find a single one I hadn't seen yet, and I was getting a little depressed.
Damn.
But Se7en is definitely one of the best, if not the best. I'd say it's definitely the best fictional serial killer movie.
And the best non-fiction one is Zodiac.
Yeah. Honestly, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nice.
I love Fincher. I love almost all of his movies.
What about The Game?
I like The Game. I don't think it's a amazing movie, but it's a pretty cool concept.
Mm-hmm.
Mank, I didn't really like Mank. We've talked about Mank.
Yeah. I haven't seen Gone Girl, but
Gone Girl, I really like Gone Girl. Gone Girl is a great film.
Alright. I'll check
Obviously,
it out.
Fight Club, Zodiac,
Yeah.
Girl with Dragon Tattoo is pretty good. Social Network, I love. Curious Case of Benjamin Button is pretty good too. His filmography is pretty extensive, and he dives into a lot of different genres. But Fincher is known for his thrillers, his crime thrillers, and Se7en is the starting point for that. And yeah, I mean, it's a great movie. Anyone who's ever seen it knows it's one of the greatest movies out there. I mean, it's definitely, on the IMDb top 250. It has an 8.6 on IMDb. I'm just saying, that's kind of insane.
Pretty insane. It has a 4.3 on Letterboxd, 105th highest rated movie on all of Letterboxd. So even amongst the film geeks, it holds up. Yes. And it's definitely well deserving. It's a great movie. Go check it out if you haven't already. I mean, everyone's already seen this, but I'll read the plot summary anyways, just in case. A serial killer begins murdering people according to the 7 deadly sins. 2 detectives, one new to the city and the other about to retire, are tasked with apprehending the criminal. Yeah, so basically, serial killer kills people, 1 for each of the 7 deadly sins, or for 5 of them at least.
Yeah.
And then Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman got to track him down. And honestly, it's so weird that Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman have insane chemistry. That's such a weird pairing, especially because Brad Pitt at that point was pretty much just known for Thelma and Louise.
He hadn't done much.
He hadn't really done much, and Morgan Freeman is coming off The Shawshank Redemption. I think that came out a year before this, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah, I believe so.
Yeah, so an unlikely pairing, but it works, man. Morgan Freeman is just so sick. Like, he's such a legend. I love Morgan Freeman. And I mean, he's just so good in this movie. Like, Morgan Freeman was the real, like, unsung reason that I loved this film, is because I just really loved his demeanor and his dialogue, which obviously, like, that's written, but, like, just his performance in general, his demeanor, his vibe. I really loved it. I mean, like, Brad Pitt is awesome too, but I don't know, man. Like, 90s Brad Pitt is just a little annoying to me. Like, Morgan Freeman was really the star of the show to me in this film. Like, he held it down for me.
Yeah. I agree. They do have great chemistry in this film. I mean, I won't get to it, but also Kevin Spacey, which, you know, I don't like talking about him too much, but
yeah,
I'll say it, the man can act.
He can act like a creep, and it's so, like, movies, especially movies like American Beauty, just, like, have aged so terribly in light of recent things.
Yeah.
And, like, this one, too. Like, now he really, really fits that character, you know? Like, now he... Maybe now we know why.
I don't know if he fits Se7en.
But, like, it's just not helping.
No. But, his performance is still great. As he's riding in the back of the cop car. I remember the first time I watched this movie, when he, like, steps out of the taxi and walks into the police station.
Yeah.
And he, like, yells.
It's so crazy.
Like, that moment is just, it was ingrained into my memory because it was like, oh my god, this is insane.
Yeah.
And, like, when I first watched this movie, I didn't know Kevin Spacey was in it. Because I watched it at a pretty young age before I really knew who Kevin Spacey was, to be completely honest. But yeah, this was I hadn't seen this movie since I first watched it. It'd been a good, 4 years, maybe 5 years. And I loved it. It was amazing. It was a great rewatch. And it held up. It, like, kept its intensity throughout, even though I knew all the beats and I knew everything that was going to happen. I still felt that kind of anxious, intense suspense feeling throughout the movie.
Yeah, no. It was my first time watching this, although I have to say almost the entire thing had been spoiled for me. Like, literally the entire thing. I'm pretty sure it was in the summer between grade 9 and grade 10 when we were working at SFU. One day you literally, like, just went through every single sin and all the different, like, ways they were killed. Probably because you had just seen it. So, like, I already knew what to expect, but that still didn't make it any less entertaining, any less of a great watch. Yes, I knew the end result, but I didn't really know exactly how they got anywhere. And it is really well put together, man. Like, I think that the ending to this film has got to be one of my favorite endings of all time.
And one of the darkest endings of all time.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't even, like, leave you with anything. It just kind of ends.
It's just like,
in, like, this really dark moment.
And
yeah,
I mean,
it's
the
one
quote
of those, like,
that Morgan Freeman
endings.
says at the end, breaking the fourth wall, kinda, is just a fire quote from Ernest Hemingway. And it just leaves you like, oh, damn, yo. Like, the world really is a fucked place. Like,
yeah,
there's just, like, no redeeming thing in this film. It's like, yeah, 5 people die, Kevin Spacey gets killed, and Brad Pitt is going to jail, and his life's over, and also his wife and unborn child are dead.
Yep.
And you're just like, yeah, okay, nice.
Yeah.
Standout scenes, I guess. My standout scene, like, yeah, I think the entire ending sequence in the windmill field is obviously, like, the best scene to me, but I wanted to go with, like, a less obvious choice, and I have to say, the scene that I had not been spoiled on, or, like, I didn't know it was in the film, that, like, impressed me the most is the scene where Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman enter John Doe's apartment for the first time, and it's, like,
yes.
just revealed the level of insanity that he's on, because it's like such an eerie scene. I love the lighting. I love the score.
The production
for this
design
section.
is insane.
And like
the set decoration.
Just when Morgan Freeman is like reading through the notebooks, it's just so like revealing of like how messed up the situation truly is, because like this dude is like crazy, like ultra crazy. But then you're also like, but is he though? Because he kind of got a point. But yeah, that scene is a fire scene. Love that scene.
Yeah, that's a great scene. Okay, my standout scene. I agree. The ending is one of the best scenes in the entire film. But I'm gonna go with probably a weirder selection, but a scene I really like, and that is when Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman go back to the lawyer's office where the second murder has just been committed. Now this is when the film kind of starts to pick up, and this is when like the detective element of it actually begins, and this is when they start working together and start piecing stuff together, and they basically just like they get their first like hit, and they go back to this lawyer's office, and they're just kind of tearing the place apart and looking for clues. But the thing I love about that scene is it really just builds their characters, builds their connection, because even though they're looking for clues for this like brutal murder that's just happened, like the man just got a pound of flesh taken off of him
by himself,
literally. By himself.
But
the entire sequence is literally just Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman just joking around with each other as they're taking down paintings and like looking for little hints and stuff, which they eventually find the fingerprints. But it's just a great moment, and it's honestly just a really fun scene, but it also is, I think, very, very... It really showcases Fincher's writing style in building characters and character development. Yeah, I just wanted to choose a more unpopular scene.
Agreed. That's a great scene.
Let's take a quick break, and then we'll hop into the review.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Back.
We are back. Hopping into story and originality out of 10.
I mean,
this is a... It's a pretty original film. Now, there have been a lot of serial killer films to date that follow a very similar format as Se7en. But Se7en was kind of the beginning. It kind of laid the groundwork for many of these murder mystery films we've seen to follow.
Yeah. I think, like, to me the most unique part about Se7en is that at first, all you're obsessed about is, okay, who's the killer? Like, are they going to catch him? Are they going to stop him? And then, like, right at the midpoint, kind of the end of Act 2, instead of having a moment of, like, all is lost, the killer turns himself in. And then you're like, wait, but, like, huh? So now what? And then the rest of the movie, you're, like, trying to figure out what the hell's going on. Like, I don't know. I think that the twist in this film, not being who the killer is, it's actually the way he commits the crime, is just like very unique and original, especially for the mid-90s. Like, almost every other film, the twist would be, okay,
like Usual Suspects.
Yeah, exactly. Where
also Kevin.
Yeah, that one's also...
Same year, also.
Yeah, that's also a creepy Kevin character. But the twist not being who the killer is, but more the way that the killings unfold is just super sick and original, and I love it. To me, best serial killer movie, unless you count American Psycho, but that's a totally different, like, vibe and genre. Yeah, I really love the story and originality. This film, super original, great story. Enough said.
Yeah, I mean, it is so, I don't know, it's like so clear that Fincher just had a different idea for this film. And I agree with that ending. It's like, it just doesn't care. It's like gonna do whatever it wants, and it's very obvious in the just the brutal nature of this film, especially for a film come out in the 90s. Yeah, I mean, of course there's been gruesome films in the 90s, but this film, it's like, it's that in-between point where it's not a slasher film where it's showing extremely gory content, but it's also not shying away from the gore. It's doing this weird thing where it's playing with your imagination in the sense that it doesn't show anything, but it's like very clear everything that's happening, all the murders taking place. Mm-hmm. Which is such a cool way of making a film about such disturbing content. And yeah, I agree that ending plot twist, I mean, throughout my first watch of this film, I was like trying to think who's the killer, and I was thinking like, oh, what if Brad Pitt's the killer? What if Morgan Freeman's actually the killer? Because you're expecting something like that, especially if you read that there's a plot twist in this movie. That's what you're expecting. Mm-hmm. And then I got like, you know, it gives you a killer, but then it does throw a plot twist at the end. Not really a plot twist, but like a wrench in the plot, kind of. Where it's like, hey, you think things are under control, but they are far from under control.
Yeah.
And it's a really, really brilliant story. And there's a reason why so many films relate or talk about Seven to this day, especially films of the same genre, because it's just so monumental in the crime thriller genre. This is a 10 out of 10 for me. 10 out of 10, story and originality.
Yeah, I gave it a 10% as well out of 10. Super great. Yeah, awesome. Let's move on to beginning out of 5%. I don't know. This beginning is really great. Like, if you're only counting the first 10 minutes, you could be fooled into thinking that this is, you know, a slower film. Because once they really get into the crime scene of, is it gluttony? Is that the, like,
yeah,
what
gluttony.
the term is? Okay.
Yeah.
Once they really get into that crime scene, it starts to get more interesting. But if you're looking at what's before the opening title sequence / directly after, there's nothing that special about it, to me at least. Like, it's great filmmaking, but I feel like that this film could have had a stronger beginning.
Yeah, I mean, we do jump into the vibe of the film right away. Like, right away,
Yeah.
we start with Morgan Freeman going to a pretty brutal homicide detective kind of thing where he's looking at, I think it's two parents who have killed each other. Mm-hmm. And it's already, like, disturbing because they're talking about, oh, did the kid see this? Where is the kid? And there's, like, all that going on. And it's, like, right away we're like, okay, this movie's going to be it's going to be dark. It's going to be a dark movie. But yeah, it's like, it's a slower beginning, but it's like, it isn't even that slow because within the 15-minute mark we get into gluttony and then it kind of just goes off from there.
Yeah.
And also, dude, the opening credit sequence
Yeah.
is so good. It's like probably the best opening credit sequence out there. I mean, it's renowned. Everyone talks about this opening credit sequence. Mm-hmm. I have the DVD for Seven, and there's an entire section on the disc that's just a documentary on the making of the opening title sequence. It's pretty awesome in a very disturbing way. You're watching like Kevin Spacey peel the skin off of his fingers and stuff.
Yeah, it's,
you know, but
it's kind of not. I didn't like.
It's
hard to watch. I'll say that.
I know it's hard to watch, but it's you know, it's pretty awesome. I don't know. I give it 4 out of 5. I like this beginning. I don't think it's amazing, but I think you still... It jumps into it a lot quicker than all the 3 out of 5s I've been giving.
Fair enough. I did give it a 3% out of 5 because I thought that this movie was overall really, really well executed, so I had to be hard on it in some places. I feel like opening just could have been better. Ending out of 5%. We already kind of talked about this ending, but I mean, I love this ending. I think that it's a great ending. I think it's arguably one of the most memorable endings in a film. What's in the box? That's a classic line that I knew of years before I saw this movie. I'd seen clips from this scene, and I mean, it's just so good. Like, it's just really good. Like, editing, absolutely on point. I love the location for the first time you're out of, like, the dim streets, and just in this open world. The last time that I was in California or LA, so pre-COVID, when we were driving out to Joshua Tree, like that whole windmill park thing is like right on the side of the highway, and I just like looked out there, and my dad was like, "Yo, that's where the last scene of Se7en was filmed." It's pretty cool. It's just like a massive wind farm, and it's a sick location. Like, and I just love the vibe. I love the editing in the scene. The performances are fantastic, and like the plot twist is just crazy. It's so good.
I was worried rewatching this film because of how like memeified the ending of this film has become, the what's in the box, that this ending would lose like meaning or intensity, that I would kind of just find it funny to hear Brad Pitt say what's in the box. Which, I mean, it still is funny when he says what's in the box because of how memeified it's become. But it's still intense. Like, I wasn't laughing when that scene hit. I was still so captured in the moment, which is like, that's telling you something, because, I've seen that clip so many times. But when you watch the entire film as a whole, and then it all like crashes into that moment at the end, it's so impactful. And Fincher originally wanted to end this film, like literally end it with Brad Pitt shooting Kevin Spacey and walking away. That's how he had the original cut,
better.
Like, ending. And then the production company was like, "Nah, that's way too dark, man. Like, way too dark." So he's like, "Fine." And then he added in that extra 30-second scene at the end where Morgan Freeman says a quote and walks into the sunset. But yeah, his original ending was literally just Brad Pitt walking away and cutting to black. Which is an extremely... Like, this film is already such a dark ending, but, like, to end like that would have been...
to me, I think.
Yeah, I think it would have been better, but for audiences in the 90s, that might have been a... I can see how that might have not worked on test audiences.
Yeah, for sure.
I don't know. This is easy 5 out of 5
Easily.
for the ending for me. Easy 5 out of 5.
Easy 5 out of 5. 100%. Okay. Now we will move on to screenplay and dialogue at 8%. I mean, I really love the characters in this film. I think they're all super well developed. Especially, like, I don't know why, but, like, Morgan Freeman's character is just so awesome to me. He's, like, this really good-natured, like, jaded detective who he just wants the justice. And he totally sees right through Brad Pitt's weaknesses. And, like, the whole time you're just waiting for Brad Pitt to do some stupid shit. And then you think he avoided it. Like, you think he made it through. But then, finally his weakness is, like, exploited. I think that the screenplay also... the pacing of this film is fantastic. It's super fast-paced, but at the same time, I feel like they spend a great amount of time on all the details, and just letting you try to connect the dots, I mean, like, you never really have a great idea of who specifically the killer is, but you start to get deeper into their mind as the film progresses.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, dialogue's great. There's a lot of great one-liners. And just some, like, wholesome scenes, too. Like, the scene where Morgan Freeman gets invited over for dinner. I really love the way that scene's written. They all just start laughing.
Yeah.
Like, that's such a sweet moment. Yeah.
Yeah. And even, like, the simple moments that you feel like are just filler that don't really need to be there, like the Gwyneth Paltrow
at the diner
scene with Morgan Freeman. And it's like, yes, in the moment, but then when the ending hits, it's like, oh, that was actually really important because of the baby and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. But it's like scenes like that even though in the moment, you know, you'll realize at the end that's not filler, but in the moment feel like filler. It's written in a way that it's still entertaining, and it, like, you're still invested and you're still catching on to all the things that are being said, even if in the moment they don't feel important, which is very important because, you know, when it all comes to a conclusion, those little details are important for the full, you know, the full experience. So yeah, I think the dialogue is fantastic in this film. I think the screenplay is great, really well paced. I don't think it's an 8 out of 8 because I don't feel like this is like a... I don't know. I just don't feel like it's a screenplay heavy film.
Yeah.
I don't think the dialogue is really carrying this film. But it's solid, without a doubt. Really great film. Great writing. 7 out of 8.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. 7% out of 8 for me on the screenplay front as well. Doesn't necessarily rely on that as much, but still super, super good. Let's move on to soundtrack at a 7%. I think that this film's got a great soundtrack. I think most Fincher films have pretty excellent soundtracks, especially The Social Network. Trent Reznor did a fantastic job with that one in particular, but this film also has a great soundtrack, and I don't know, it's like dark and beautiful, and just overall fits super well. It's intense when it needs to be. It's not something I would listen to outside of the film, but it fits the vibe super, super well.
Yeah, it's such a brutal soundtrack. It's like really gross. It like fits the vibe of the film so well because it's just a really disturbing soundtrack. It's like very intense, very white noise, heavy, a lot of like crashing and feedback kind of noises. But I don't know if the soundtrack really carries a lot of this film.
No.
I feel like the soundtrack isn't really there, or it kind of just hides in the background for most of the film. I don't know, it didn't really stand out to me. I think the ending scene, the soundtrack is very present. I think the opening title sequence, it's very present. But in a lot of the other moments where it clearly is there, but I don't know, it wasn't giving me anything that I feel like I feel like the movie wouldn't have been changed if there was no soundtrack in a lot of those moments.
Right.
I feel like the film was so intense already from the acting, writing, and cinematography that the soundtrack really wasn't giving me anything, and I actually felt like there were some moments where I would have preferred no music and just the sound design of the scenes take over.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I
give it a 5 out of 7.
Yeah, I gave it a 5 out of 7 as well. Pretty good, but like, it's just like The Social Network, I would give a 6 to me, or even a 7. And like, I know that Fincher can have some, like, even Mank kind of has a dope soundtrack. Not gonna lie.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah. Let's move on to production design. I mean, the production design in this film is absolutely awesome. I love the production design in this film. It's just so incredibly detailed. I mean, obviously, crime movies, Fincher movies in general, they're gonna have super detailed production design, but this movie in particular just creates such a world and personality of this killer And I really think that this is one of the major things carrying this film, is just the, like, everything is so believable. Like, especially, that's the reason why I love that apartment scene so much. All the Polaroids hanging from the ceiling. It's just, like, so great. And all the different apartments where everyone is killed, all the different locations. It's all amazing.
It's like the set decoration is just insane. I mean, Fincher, anyone who knows his films, he is one of the biggest perfectionists of a director working today. His films are so detailed in every shot. And that's really clear even here in Seven, that he's putting so much effort into the tiny little out of focus things in the background. I mean, the props, the costumes, I mean, the makeup, like, holy smokes, the makeup. If we're looking at Sloth, for example, it's insane. Like, the makeup is brutal in this film, but also, like, doesn't feel like prosthetics, especially with the Sloth victim.
God.
It looks so real, especially for 95. And I mean, the costumes are great, the detective outfits, but especially the contrast of, like, Kevin Spacey's colors, his orange suit in the wind field. Yeah, but I mean, the set decoration's just so good in this movie. This is a film where it's like, you don't need big production design. You just need the details.
Yeah.
And you just need those little elements to make shots just feel complete.
Yeah. Totally agree. For me, this is an easy 6% out of 6. Costumes, also great. And yeah, like you said, all the victims are just so brutally realistic that I kind of wish it was a little bit worse. But here we are, and it's really good. So, solid 6%.
6 out of 6. Okay, location selection, 6. We talked about it a bit. Location selection is pretty great in this movie. Obviously the final scene is a fantastic location. The library, I really love the library location. Where with all the green, like, lights on the desk, it's like such a cool vibe. All the apartments, I don't know, some of the streets are really cool, especially with the rain. I know that Fincher brought in lots of fake rain for this movie.
Yeah,
because
it's very specific when it needs to be raining
and
such.
I guess the first scene they shot in this movie, it was raining when he didn't want it to rain, but then he was like, this looks pretty cool, so then he just kept the rain going throughout the film. But yeah, I don't know. Location selection, there are moments where it's like awesome, and then there's, moments where it's just kind of like a diner that is just a diner.
Yeah.
Or even like, I don't know, Brad Pitt's apartment. It works, but it's also nothing special. I feel like they could have made it more weird, especially that it's like under this train station. Like, I feel like it could have been a bit more of a, I don't know, just like weirder looking apartment that, still feels homely, but also has that like odd feel to it.
A lot of these locations, they fit super well within the tone, but they also don't really have much personality in and of themselves. It's mostly just the rain and the dark, gritty cinematography. Like I feel like if this movie just had super ultra dope locations, like it would have been even better. Like, I think the location selection is still great, but at this point I'm just kind of nitpicking because it's such a great film that I gotta figure stuff out.
Yeah, I give it a 5 out of 6 though.
Yeah, still a solid 5% out of 6. Awesome. I mean, nothing really wrong with it. It just really could have been slightly better. We'll take a quick break now, but then we'll head into the second half of the review. All right.
Okay, we are back. Heading in.
Hopping into cinematography.
Cinematography out of 10. This film, it's not your beautiful movie, without a doubt. But the cinematography is just so gritty, man. It's so dark and totally adds so much to this movie.
Yeah, it's one of the grittiest looking films ever. The handheld chase sequences, widescreen, plus all this grain and rain, like, it's so hard to see, but that's also kind of sick.
Yeah.
I don't know. The cinematography is, like, totally not my style, but I really fucked with it. Like, it's super good.
Yeah.
I love the aesthetic. I think it supports this film so much. Yeah,
I mean, especially my favorite shot sequence is the chase scene between Brad Pitt and John Doe, especially when they're like in the rainy alleyway and like all that is happening in the shadows. It's just such a cool looking scene where it's like all blue and the rain is pouring down and all of the white lights are glowing off of like the wet alleyway, and then you like see that one shot of what is Kevin Spacey pointing the gun at him, but it's all like shadowed out.
I gave it a 9% out of 10. I think the cinematography in this film is pretty fantastic. I just love the feel.
9 out of 10. It's a great feel. Oh, it's not a great feel. It's a very disturbing feel, but it works.
Yes.
And if you need a good, unsettling film, this one will do it for you.
Mm-hmm. Totally.
Okay, editing out of 8. I think this is a really well edited film.
Yeah, I mean, that was its one
really
Oscar nom, which is ridiculous.
Ridiculous.
Like, that's so stupid.
But to be fair, the Oscars hate Fincher for some reason.
Well, they liked Mank.
Yeah, which is so... It's because it's the most anti-David Fincher movie he's ever made that, of course, the Oscars like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like, Fight Club got, like, nothing. Even though it's, like, ranked as one of the greatest movies of all time. Social Network got snubbed for Best Picture. Gone Girl got nothing. He's not well liked in the award season.
No.
I don't know. But Seven deserved some respect. Even though 95 was a great year for film.
Yeah. I don't know. The editing in this film is one of the key elements to me. I think that the pacing of each scene is so incredible. And if the opening title sequence tells you anything, it's that the editing is going to be driving the pace and the feel of this whole film. In particular, I don't know, Fincher just knows when to cut a shot, man. There's almost like a relentless beat when you're watching a Fincher movie, whether it be this or The Social Network or whatever. And some directors... I just watched a Yorgos Lanthimos movie, so I'm going to use him as an example. Some directors, their style is to purposely, hold on things longer or shorter than you expect, make you uncomfortable with that. But Fincher kind of makes you uncomfortable because it feels like you're in like a trance where everything is just cutting perfectly. Like it feels just like there's a beat to the whole movie and you're just like can't take your eyes off it. And Seven is like, to me, the best example of that I've seen so far. I think The Social Network is pretty good, but like Seven is the epitome of that editing from Fincher.
Yeah, especially through the last 30 minutes of this film. The editing is just... It's the driving force of why the last 30 minutes is so intense.
Yeah.
Because the shots aren't crazy. Like, especially the car scene. It's mostly just 3 medium close-ups on the 3 characters edited together with helicopter overview. But there's something about how it's paced out, what shots are left on Kevin Spacey, what shots are just Brad Pitt reacting to stuff Kevin Spacey is saying. It's so meticulous that it makes the scene just feel so messed up. It feels like you're heading into a trap, which is exactly what you want the audience to feel like in that moment in time. Mm-hmm. Even though you feel at ease. You don't know you're like, what can he do? He's got helicopters on him, he's handcuffed. He's got 2 cops on him, armed. How can he do anything? And you're very wrong. You're very wrong.
Because he's smart.
He's a smart man.
He's got the brain. Yeah. The most deadly weapon.
But the editing it's great in this movie. I mean, we haven't had a lot of films in this podcast where the editing shines through. We've had a few.
Yeah.
But not a whole lot. There have been a lot of 6s. So I think this is a solid 7. I don't think it's quite that 8 category, but I think looking at the ending 30 minutes and even the opening title sequence, which is also editing, I think that this film showcases a lot of, just great editing techniques.
Yeah. I think so far the best edited films we've looked at, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind comes to mind. Raging Bull to me, I mean, there's been some good ones, and this just isn't quite on that level. I think it's super, super, super good, but it's a high 7%. I was gonna give it the 8, but I don't know. It's a solid 7 because, like you said, the last 30 minutes are just truly exceptional.
Yeah.
So earlier, not so much, but 7% for sure. Acting though, out of 10%. I think that great performances all around.
Oh, yeah. Kevin Spacey won this year for The Usual Suspects. That's a joke and a half. He should have won for this movie.
But, I mean, he does more in The Usual Suspects.
Yeah, but it's still supporting actor. He won supporting actor for The Usual Suspects. It's a good performance. But just contrast, even though he's only in 30 minutes of this movie, he steals the show. He is, so powerful in those final 30 minutes of this film. It's insane. It's probably one of the most powerful and memorable supporting actor performances in film.
Yeah. And I mean, look, I'm looking at it right now. 68th Academy Awards.
Mm-hmm.
What's the one nomination for 7? Editing. It loses to Apollo 13, which I haven't seen it, but
sure.
Space movie, probably edited good.
Makes sense.
Best Picture. Yeah. Braveheart. I haven't seen Braveheart.
But I haven't seen Braveheart either.
Come on. Babe.
That's Mel
the
Gibson.
Movie about a pig.
Yeah, Babe got nominated for Best Picture. Sense and
Director.
Sensibility, which I have seen.
And Best Supporting Actor. The farmer in Babe got a Best Supporting Actor nom over Kevin Spacey. Or the people in the Academy just straight up, you know what it was? Is Fincher didn't pay enough money. He didn't give the Academy enough money. Babe was all over that shit. Or he didn't
just... Bro, Babe, they were advertising their movie. They were going out there, making sure everyone watched it.
I mean, Leaving Las Vegas, Nicolas Cage wins Best Actor. That's pretty respectable.
That's fine. I don't think Brad Pitt or Morgan Freeman are Best Actor or Supporting Actor candidates here, but I think they both give very good performances, especially once you get in the last 30 minutes. I mean, the last 30 minutes is everything in this movie. All of the points that are going up for this film are from that last 30 minutes.
100%.
Where everything just comes out of nowhere. All of a sudden, Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman are giving the best goddamn performances of their career alongside Kevin Spacey. It's insane.
For sure.
Yeah. I mean, but yes, we're talking about the main 3 guys, but let's talk about some of the side actors here.
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Let's talk about who?
Gwyneth Paltrow.
Okay, not Gwyneth Paltrow. I'm talking side characters. I'm talking the sloth victim, man. That's an actor. Mr. Michael Reed McKay. I mean, goddamn, that guy lost 80 pounds for this movie. and no one gives him respect. Okay, they literally did an interview with him where he was like, I lost he ate a grape a day before shooting this movie.
Christian Bale literally took this guy's technique.
Yes. Even Mr. Let's see, Kat Mueller, who plays the lust victim. This guy is on record saying he didn't sleep for an entire week before shooting his scene. Because he wanted to appear completely, broken. And he does. He is a freaking maniac in that one scene. It's one of the most disturbing scenes I've ever watched. And I will go on record saying there are very few times where I have turned off a movie. And yes, I was young when I watched Seven for the first time. But that scene rattled me.
How funny is it that this isn't even the most disturbing film I saw this week? Because literally a few hours ago, I just got done watching a Yorgos Lanthimos movie called Dogtooth.
Dogtooth?
Yeah, it's one of his early... it was the one he made that basically put him on the map. It's in Greek, and it was, best foreign film nominee. And that movie is, ultra fucked.
Well, yeah, I've watched more disturbing films recently.
But,
than Seven. But there's something about Seven that it, hurts you more. I watched The House That Jack Built. I watched Funny Games. Funny Games is Michael Haneke, House That Jack Built, Lars von Trier. Both are known for their highly disturbing films. Mm-hmm. But even though those films, yes, on the surface are very brutal and menacing and sadistic, there's something about Seven that it sits with you for a while.
Mm-hmm.
The House That Jack Built, even though the violence in it, the murders are, yes, probably the most gory murders I've ever watched in a film, and I wasn't even watching the uncensored version of the film. They didn't stick with me. I'm not really thinking about them after watching it. And Seven,
the sloth victim is haunting me still.
You talked about how I was telling you about all the murders in grade 9, and I watched Seven when I was in grade 7. So that movie haunted me for a solid 2.5 years before I was still talking about it. So there's that.
Huh. Yeah.
Yeah, acting. I don't know. It's a really high 9 for me. It's a very, very high 9. It's not quite the 10. It's very close though. I think the way that this could have gone to a 10 is if there were just a few more moments that weren't just the last 30 minutes that made Brad Pitt and Morgan Freeman stand out. But other than that, it's a very high 9 out of 10. I changed this grade a couple times.
Yeah, I gave it a 9%. To me, nothing stands out to bring it to the 10 level, but it is a 9. It is a 9.
Okay, entertainment value, out of 10. Ben, this was your first watch, but you knew the entire plot line.
Yeah.
I still want to see how
it's very entertaining. It's hard to watch at some points, but this film is extremely entertaining. I knew the entire plot, but that didn't stop me from being fully engaged. Well, when I say I knew the entire plot, I knew that Kevin Spacey was the killer. I knew that Brad Pitt's wife's head was in the box. And I knew that eventually Brad Pitt was going to kill Kevin Spacey and fulfill the last 2 sins. And I knew how they all died. And that seems like a lot. But I didn't know all the stuff in between at all. Sure. I didn't know any of the clues they found. I didn't know the paths they took. I didn't know who they interviewed. I didn't know shit other than all the major plot points. So it's still really entertaining, and I really loved it. I gave it a 9% out of 10 for entertainment value. Even though some sections are hard to watch, super, super entertaining movie.
Yeah, it is. It's a very entertaining movie. I'm not going to rewatch this film a lot, but it still is, when you do watch it, highly entertaining. So it's a 9 out of 10 also for me. Okay, technical achievement. I don't have much to say here. Easy 14 out of 15.
14, yeah.
You know, it's definitely up there with the other 14s we've given. Besides maybe some that we should have given a 15 to, but we were way too reluctant to give those 15s out.
Children of Men. What else?
Yeah, probably Children of Men. That's probably about it. I mean, I think there's arguments for quite a few of these that we could have give 15s to. We're just being very stubborn with the 15s.
If you're looking at it historically, Raging Bull, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse,
even like Shape of Water, I feel like could be argued.
I think if we got like Pan's
Grand
Labyrinth,
Budapest.
I think if we got Pan's Labyrinth, we could give that safely.
I don't know. Pan's Labyrinth.
Is that on the wheel?
Yeah, it's on the wheel.
Okay, nice.
I love Pan's Labyrinth. I'm just trying to think if it like. I don't know if it would be a 15.
Well,
yeah, we'll see. We gotta start being a bit lighter with that 15. I think we gotta break that barrier one day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
we'll take
we're
a
gonna
break.
tally up our total percentages, come back, and we're gonna hop into our next 10 all-time favorite movies. Top 100. What are we at? We're in the 70s, aren't we? We are in the 70s. I believe it's 80 to 71 today.
Yeah, it is.
Awesome. Okay, back at it. We have tallied up our percentages. Ben, what did you give 7?
I gave it an 89%.
89%.
Super high score, not quite breaking 90, but this film is great. This film's really good.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's undeniable. It's objectively good.
Yep. I gave it a 90%, just breaking that barrier.
Yeah, okay.
So that gives it an 89.5 average.
Which puts it just above Silence and just below the Grand Budapest Hotel.
Okay.
Which, it's a good spot. I think that it's a better movie than Silence. But I don't think it's better than Grand Budapest. I mean, it's right in there. It's in our top 10. It's in the top. It's 7th
it's
now.
7th
I think
place.
that's a good spot.
Perfect. It's 7th place.
You can't make this stuff
That's
up.
amazing.
That's so good.
Okay, yeah. So 7
That
comes
pushes
in 7th
Wolf
place.
of Wall Street out of our top 10.
Pushes
which
Wolf
is
of Wall
incredible.
Street, and that's having Inglourious Bastards on thin oil here. Thin ice. Why did I just say thin oil? Jesus.
I don't know.
Thin ice here.
Lucas is tired.
Yeah, so Inglourious Bastards, Nocturnal Animals, Silent, 7, Grand Budapest, Shame, The Master, Eternal Sunshine Drive, Children of Men. That's a pretty beautiful top 10 if you ask me. But, you know what we should do first? We should spin the wheel
Yeah.
before we hop into our top 100.
Let's spin it and see if we get a goodie.
Yeah. What went onto the wheel last week?
The theory of
No.
every... no. Oh, okay. Was it...
Tree of Life.
It was the Tree of
Yeah.
Life? Okay.
So the Tree of Life went on the
Yeah.
wheel. Cool. Okay, well, let's spin it.
Cool.
And we are spinning in 3, 2, 1. Here we go. Oh. It's funny. Oh, okay, so we have landed on the Tree of Life.
Damn. Wow. Just went on the wheel.
Yeah,
Got it
just
instantly.
one on the wheel.
Terrence Malick, Brad Pitt.
Yeah,
I've been meaning to watch this
it's been on
film
my watch
for a while.
list for a very long
So-
time, so I'm excited to watch this. But now let's get into our top
100 films
Yeah.
of all time.
I'm
We are moving into 80 to 71 today. And Ben, why don't you start it off? What is your 80th all-time favorite movie?
We got an A24 film called Mid-90s. It's Jonah Hill's directorial debut. Nice little coming-of-age story with a great soundtrack, great 4:3 aspect ratio, looks great. Really great performances in this one, with Sonny Silich as the main character. Yeah, this one, I don't know. This is just kind of like a feel-good movie, even though there's some sadder moments, but it's just a nice coming-of-age story. Yeah, really good. Hopefully Jonah Hill makes more movies.
More movies. It was a bit earlier in my list, but it was on here in my top 100. My 80th favorite film of all time is last year's Best Picture winner, Nomadland, from Chloe Zhao, Frances McDormand. The only movie from 2020 to hit the top 100. I love this movie. I watched it a little earlier than it was before it was released, before it got all the Oscar hype, and I was like, this movie, it's meaning something. It's like, it's just, grabs you by the heart, and it's like, hey, look at my natural light. Look at all this natural light and location selection. And I was like, yes, I see you. And then it got a bunch of Oscar hype, and I was very proud of this movie. Such an indie film, but it deserved that Best Picture in my opinion. Yeah. Okay, 79.
79.
What is it, Ben?
This is a film that we literally reviewed like 2 weeks ago, Boyhood.
Nice.
I won't get too far into it because we literally just did like an hour-long podcast about it. But it was really good. It surprised me. Yeah, go check out our review if you want to hear my full thoughts on it.
Boyhood. Like to see it. Okay, my 79th favorite film. A classic. If there is a definition for a classic, it is this movie. It is The Lion King. Of course, the classic animated film. Not
Nice.
the remake. God, this film is my childhood. This is my childhood. I watched this movie on repeat for many, many years because my grandma had it on VHS. And I would always watch it. She actually, funny enough, she had this movie and Babe. And those were the two movies that I would watch constantly. But this one stuck with me a bit more than Babe. It's The Lion King. I don't even have to go into detail. It's The Lion King. I love it. It's one of the greatest animated films out there. Tugs at all the heartstrings. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Number 78, we got the late great Robin Williams in Dead Poets Society. This movie is so good. I wish that Robin Williams was my teacher. I don't know. This film is very moving to me. I love the symbolism. And overall, it's just a great watch. If you like Robin Williams, you'll love this movie. If you want to go relive his beautiful acting skills. And I love the screenplay in this movie too. It's just
also
overall...
young Ethan Hawke.
Yeah, exactly. Great movie. Go watch it if you haven't already. Dead Poets Society.
That's a great one. Okay, my 78th favorite film. We talked about it a few times in this podcast. It is American Beauty.
Yeah.
I just watched this film for the first time. Maybe it's been like 2 months now. But it weirded me out a little. I will admit, it was a very awkward viewing experience. But I cannot deny the pure beauty, no pun intended, of this film. It won Best Picture, won Best Cinematography, won Best Actor, won a lot of awards, won Best Screenplay, I think, too. It's a really well-written film. It is truly beautiful, and not just the aspect of the like creepy dad pedophilia vibes, but more so in the actual like coming of age story with his daughter and her kind of finding herself in this kind of messed up family relationship she has with her father and her mother. And it's really just a honest, depressing portrayal of like family life with really, really haunting ending. But yeah, it affected me. I really enjoyed it. 78.
Yeah, okay. 77. We got the first movie we ever reviewed, Parasite.
Hey.
I love this movie. It's really awesome. Definitely deserved Best Picture. Well, I guess technically I have other movies from that year rated higher. But I still think it deserved Best Picture. Like, honestly, it's just a very important moment that I think as moviegoers we had to have a foreign film win Best Picture for a wider audience to truly appreciate all the cinematic beauty that is in other parts of the world that don't speak English. Like, it's incredible. There's just like so many movies.
There's so many. Yeah.
And they're all so good. So if this was
they're
your
not
introduction,
all,
they're not all so good, but like there are some really great movies out there.
Yeah, it's just like the Hollywood film business. It's the same in every country.
So
yeah,
I think that this movie inspired a lot of people to get out there and watch more foreign films. And also, it's just a kick-ass fucking drama, thriller. It's really good. Everyone's seen it, but if you haven't, watch it. Parasite is really awesome. Probably a little too low, but I don't know. I really love a lot of the movies above it too, so yeah.
Yeah. Okay, my 77th favorite film of all time, Coen Brothers, The Big Lebowski. I know this is much, much, much higher on Ben's list.
Yeah.
But I love this movie. One of my favorite late-night comedies out there. I don't even know if you can call this a late-night comedy. It is a late-night comedy, but it's a lot deeper than most late-night comedies. It is a Coen brother masterpiece. You know, got Jeff Bridges and, you know, Mr. Steve Buscemi and John Goodman giving it their absolute all.
Well,
and
it's such a good cast.
It's just, it is probably one of the films that has made me laugh the hardest in my entire life of watching movies. This film never fails.
And it's also like just so
laugh.
Quotable. One of the most quotable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely in my top 100. That is number 77.
Nice. My number 76, kind of like The Big Lebowski. It's a lot higher for Lucas, but mine is Birdman or The Unexpected Virtue of Ignorance, coming in 76. This movie, I should probably rewatch it. I watched it like 2.5 years ago, and I really loved it. Like, the cinematography is obviously really cool, but like that can't be the only thing that you appreciate when you watch this movie, because I mean the performances are great, screenplay is amazing, and the story in general is just awesome. So if you go into this movie, don't go into it just wanting to watch a cool cinematic gimmick. Go into it wanting
to watch
to know
1917 if you're gonna do that.
Yeah, exactly. This movie is way, way more than just a technical gimmick.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, my 76 is Lady Bird, A24, Saoirse Ronan, Greta Gerwig's directorial debut. Truly wholesome film. Very funny, interesting look at the mother-daughter relationship. Fantastic cast, Saoirse Ronan, Beanie Feldstein, Timothy Chalamet, and my boy Lucas Hedges, all coming together in a top-notch coming-of-age film. And, you know, I love Greta Gerwig. I think she is a phenomenal actress, but obviously has proven herself as also a phenomenal screenwriter and director. And, yeah, Lady Bird is up there as one of my favorite A24 films and definitely in my top 100. Yeah.
Nice. Okay, we are on to 75. We got Goodfellas, a Scorsese classic. This movie is hilarious.
I bought that on DVD today.
Oh, it's so good.
Yeah.
Got some hilarious scenes. I still think Joe Pesci, his scene where he's asking Ray Liotta, "Oh, funny how? Funny like I'm a clown?" That scene is just one of the funniest scenes in cinema history to me. I absolutely love it. I mean, if you're a fan of Scorsese, you've definitely seen this movie, but
Yeah.
like, it's one of those movies that defines a director's career. And I think that's, Goodfellas, everyone knows that. Everyone knows it's one of the crown jewels of Scorsese's filmmaking. And it's just a masterpiece. Go check it out. Go watch Goodfellas again. Rewatch it. It's rewatchable. It's hilarious.
It is. Mm-hmm. Okay, my 75th favorite film of all time. A little bit more of an unknown film. It's a foreign film called Amour from France, directed by Mr. Michael Haneke, but is not his usual extremely disturbing film. It's actually a very beautifully depressing, I may add, but truly beautiful, I guess, love story. The film is about an old man caring for his elderly wife as she's basically dying of a stroke that she has had and basically brain failure. And yeah, it's a really depressing movie that is probably the definition of realism in film. I think this film really captures what realism is, the idea of long wide shots and really just showing just acting, and basically this entire film is set in the house. But it's a great film, made me cry, broke my heart, super depressing, crazy ending. And I highly suggest this to anyone who just wants to watch like a good sad movie.
Totally. Okay. 74, Marriage Story.
Nice.
Marriage Story hits different. It's really sad.
Mm-hmm.
Go listen to our review of it.
Yep.
If you want to hear my full thoughts. But I love this
Story.
movie.
Yeah. Great movie. My 74th favorite film of all time. Baz Luhrmann, Moulin Rouge. This is, I guess, another film that sort of defines my childhood. It is...
That's so messed up.
I mean...
Childhood defining movies.
It is, okay, I'm being honest. It is
prostitute.
one of the film that defines my childhood. Is one of my parents' favorite films of all time, so they obviously showed it to me at a very young age. And I loved it. And look, I was too young to understand the whole prostitute aspect of this film. I just thought it was like a really cool film with awesome songs, like David Bowie and Elton John. And, it's Ewan McGregor. How can I not like it? It's a really stylistic film. It's Baz Luhrmann, obviously, but it's probably one of the only Baz Luhrmann films I genuinely love the style of. It's perfect for his film, and that's because it is original content of Baz Luhrmann. He's done other films like Romeo plus Juliet and The Great Gatsby, which don't work as well for me because he's just taking content that's already been made and then putting his style onto it. Where Moulin Rouge reflects his style because he also wrote it, so the story itself just fits his style so perfectly. I love this film. It has a lot of nostalgia going for it for me. 74.
All right. 73. We got my boy Yorgos. Not the first time you'll see him on this list. But this time it's The Lobster. Which...
I love
really
The Lobster.
Yeah.
But I know what your other one is.
Well, now, as of today, there's 3 on this list. But not on this version. This is like 2 weeks or 3 weeks old or something. But The Lobster, what can I say? It's quirky, slightly unsettling. It's like the least disturbing of his films. I could say that.
Maybe.
Yeah.
I honestly I found The Lobster way more disturbing than Killing of a Sacred Deer.
I mean, yeah. Like, but now
I
that
was
I've
just
seen
laughing the whole time.
Yeah.
Killing of a Sacred Deer had me laughing.
I mean, The Lobster is just Yorgos' deadpan delivery. It's not gonna work for everyone, but it works for me. And if you can appreciate it, then this movie is like. This movie also just has like such a funny concept. It's not a very funny movie in general, but
it's a dark comedy. It's a really great dark comedy, honestly.
It's a great movie. Like even romance wise.
It is. It's a romance film. It's a dark comedy romance film that a lot of people. I know a lot of people who hate this movie.
I love it. Okay. I love The Lobster.
I love The Lobster. And I don't know. I love the originality of it. It's just so weird.
Colin Farrell is great.
Gotta love Colin Farrell.
Yeah.
Yeah. My 73rd favorite film of all time is Pan's Labyrinth. Guillermo del Toro's, I guess, kind of first big hit film. Yeah. I mean, it's Pan's Labyrinth. Most people have seen this film. Actually, I don't know if Ben's seen this film. Have you seen Pan's Labyrinth?
I have not seen Pan's Labyrinth.
Ben hasn't seen Pan's Labyrinth. Ben, you should watch Pan's Labyrinth. It's
on the wheel, so I'll wait.
It is, yeah. It is the definition of an adult fairy tale. I mean, it's like a fairy tale, but, you know, there is a lot of swearing and a lot of blood. But also really cool in the prosthetics, the monsters. It's like just this like fantasy come to life. It's like the film that adults watch when they want to bring back the magic of their childhood, but also don't want to watch a children's film. It's kind of like that. I really love this film. Guillermo del Toro, I think, should have won Best Picture for this one. I know he got it for The Shape of Water, but this is his work of art right here. Yeah, great film.
Nice. Okay, 72. We have Al Pacino in Dog Day Afternoon. This is one of the best written films of all time, in my opinion. I mean, Sidney Lumet, in general, widely regarded as one of the best screenwriters of all time, made a little film called 12 Angry Men. You might have heard of it. But, I mean, like, I haven't seen that movie, and I know that it's probably very good. But, like, imagine a dialogue-driven 12 Angry Men, except it's all taking place in a bank heist gone so wrong. And Al Pacino is just sitting in this bank with John Cazale and like six hostages, completely surrounded by like 200 cops for a day. And it all takes place in that bank. And it's just them talking. And that's this movie. And it's wildly entertaining. And it's hilarious. And it's tense. And it's really well written. Go watch Dog Day Afternoon. It's really good.
I'm gonna watch that movie. That's been on my watch list for a while. Yeah. My 72nd, we're at 72. 72, my 72nd favorite film of all time, The Dark Knight Rises. This is the finale of the Dark Knight trilogy. Right. Brings it all to a close.
The one
of Christopher
with
Nolan's. Yeah, this is the one with Bane and Catwoman.
Yeah.
This is Sir Tom Hardy playing Bane. Dark Knight Rises. Why do I have it on my top 100 list? Well, it is the conclusion of a truly astounding, revolutionary superhero trilogy. Really, there is no other superhero films that have been done to date like Nolan did with the Dark Knight trilogy. He brought a whole new light to what superhero
is Batman Begins on the list?
On my top 100? No.
Okay.
It's in my top 300, definitely. He brought to light what superhero films could be and how they could still, even though they're superheroes and comic books, they could still be rooted in reality and feel somewhat real in its craziness. The changing aspect ratios is just so freaking awesome. Gotta love it. And dude, that ending, I know you haven't seen this, but the ending of this movie will never fail to not make me cry. I mean, how can you not cry at Michael Caine crying? If Michael Caine is crying, I am crying. So there you go. Dark Knight Rises, 72.
Okay. 71, our last entry in this part. All the old film fans better get mad. The Godfather. 71.
Oh, 71.
Okay, how much higher is it?
It's okay, everyone. I have it. Let me look.
Well, don't spoil it.
It's higher. It's definitely higher. It's not, like, extremely high, but it's a solid amount higher.
I don't know. The Godfather's amazing. It really is. But there's just a lot of movies that I'd rather watch. That's how I'll put it. I'll leave it at that. The Godfather, masterpiece. But there's just a lot of movies that I'd rather sit down and watch. I could even watch 2 movies in the time it would take me to watch The Godfather.
Yeah.
But, I mean, obviously, I'm not saying that... Like, you gotta remember, like, these are the best 100 films in my eyes, and the margins separating them are not that big. So, The Godfather being this low isn't me putting disrespect on it. I just...
Yeah.
Straight up, it's just not quite as enjoyable to me as a lot of the other films on here. So, well, precisely 70. So, yeah.
Fair enough. Okay, my 71, Ben already talked about it. Boyhood, we've talked about this in a long podcast just the other day. Yeah, love Boyhood. I moved it down a bit after rewatch, but it's still in the top 100. It's here. It's going to stay for a while. That is a conclusion to our next 10 entries of our top 100. We're getting there.
Yeah.
Moving into the 60s next week. Very exciting. So,
and the Tree of Life.
Yeah, the Tree of Life. I'm hyped to watch that.
Maybe that will be on there. Also, if you guys want to keep track with the updated top 100s, you can follow us on Letterboxd. Maybe we could link that in an SQFS post. Because, like, this has changed drastically from when this list was screenshotted. Because they're ever-changing. I'm watched so many films, and then I, like, think about them, and then I realize, okay, maybe I like this one more than this one. So it's ever-changing. Ever-changing.
Ben's Letterboxd account is Awesome Indie Guy. Mine is Lucas NN. Very simple. Follow us. Check out our list. We have a lot of lists and we have a lot of reviews that we write.
Yeah.
If you want to stay updated. But thank you for listening to this week's podcast of 7. We're coming at you next week with both of our first viewing of The Tree of Life. Very excited. Thank you for listening to Slightly Qualified Film Students.
Make sure to tune in next week for a new film discussion and review.
Our theme song is Slightly Sexy by Thompson Springs.
Make sure to subscribe and leave us a like.
Send us feedback and comments as well as your thoughts on the film.
Follow us on Instagram and Twitter at S_Q_F_S.
If you would like to send us a question or a comment for next week's episode, you can email us at sqfilmstudents@gmail.com.
Thanks for listening, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye.